Hey there, it's Trisha with Easy E-mini Trade, and I'm going to do a video for Maria from Trade Order Flow about the lines. And many of you have probably gotten lots of emails with screenshots and so forth showing the lines and how crazy accurate they are. So I just thought that I would take a couple minutes and explain them a little bit more than what an email can do for you. So a video obviously can give us a little more info. So just to tell you a little bit about them, the gentleman who programmed the lines was an actuary and programmer for Lloyd's of London, and the lines are downloaded each night using a highly sophisticated algorithm that extracts the volume that was traded at the different price levels, and this gives us highly accurate levels for our trading for the next day, as well as it shows where trapped traders were during the previous trading session, and it will also provide us with targets and projection levels. So the idea is to hold on as long as you can until price hits those target areas. So what you're going to find is that everybody is going to trade the lines differently, just like with any setup. You can make it your own. This isn't a setup per se. You can trade them on their own. You can trade them in conjunction with whatever setups you're trading. But regardless of what you're using to take your entries, these levels are going to be areas that you are going to want to be aware of. So in the event that you're taking a short and you know that you've got a strong support level below you, you know going in, okay, if I take this short, I might get stuck. So it's just common sense in that aspect of it. Maria will trade the breaks of the lines. Some people who are a little bit more conservative will wait for a retest. So let me just jump right in and show you CL, and you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. All right, so you're looking at CL on a 5-minute. It really won't matter what type or size chart frame you're going to put these on because the levels are going to remain the same regardless. So I'm just going to scroll to the left and just tell you about them a little bit. So you'll see that we've got some lines above us, some lines below us, and anywhere you see a clumping together, such as here in green or here in red, this is telling us that this is probably going to be a little bit of a difficult area to get through, because if you take a short, for example, and you're taking it into this grouping of green lines, what this is telling us is that we're probably going to get stuck until we can come outside the bottom end here, that 48.59. Same holds true with this red grouping. If you look at the top of the page, you have these 3 red lines up here, the dashed areas here. These are target areas, projections on where price is likely to get if price is moving higher, and the green down here are target and projection areas if price is moving lower, 48, 42, 25, and 08. The orange line in the center area here is the line in the sand, and price will very often hold that area and then bounce higher, or if it's under it, it'll trade up to the orange line there and pull back from it. So that's one that you're definitely going to want to be aware of. The dashed blue lines here are telling us that this is a high volume area. The darker the blue, the higher the volume. So you can see this 48.78 area is darker than the one right above it and the one right below it. So that 48.78 has more volume. The black numbers that you see here are trapped traders. So if it's a negative number on the line that you're looking at, then you have, for example, this minus 571, you have trapped sellers here. So you'll see that at the far left of your chart throughout each day, like when you're loading your lines, and you can make note of those and be aware that you have trapped sellers. In theory, if you have trapped sellers, when price trades back down to where you have sellers trapped, for example, realistically they're going to try to get out. So how do sellers get out? They have to put a buy order in. So it's just common sense in that aspect at those trapped areas. So I'm just going to scroll over so you can see I don't have any lines on here, but as soon as I put my check mark in here, it will extend the lines. The only downside is that you won't have the levels on those unless you scroll to the left, or obviously you can just put your crosshair on it and see what they are. So this is CL, and this is today, May 2nd. So I don't know what time you guys start trading CL or if you trade it, but the lines are available on crude, gold, ZB, NQ, ES, and what else? There's one more. Missing something. But anyway, she has them available on 6 instruments, and they're traded the same. So in theory, like for example, here, as you're approaching the top part of the lines here, this is, like I said, 7 o'clock this morning, I'm Eastern. So if you're using order flow, you would confirm this with buyers coming in to buy the break of these lines here. And then you can use just under the lines for your stop. You know, just manage it the way that you normally would be interested in trailing, for example. You can use just above or just below. So if you tried to take a buy up here, you know, it was good for a couple ticks and then you likely got stopped out. But if you didn't have buyers stepping up here, then you wouldn't be looking to buy. You could short under this area here, as long as there were sellers coming in. And again, if you're using order flow or, you know, whatever you're using to confirm turns, if you're using stochastics, MACD, I'm not telling you to use indicators. I'm just saying you can incorporate this into whatever you currently use and have a heads up on where price is going to struggle. So it didn't go higher. So then you're thinking, okay, well, as long as order flow confirms it, I can take a short knowing that the area of support is right here below me in this red line area here. Now you can take it right away. You can just take it as it's breaking this red line, again with order flow confirming, or you can wait for a retracement. So trade lower, retraces, you can take it on the retracement. That would be obviously the more conservative entry. And then you're waiting for price to get through all these areas. So this would be your first area. Once it gets through that, then you're looking at the next red line. You can see that we have a clumping here of like 3 lines here together. If you look to the left here, you could see price struggled there earlier pre-market. And once it breaks through, you could try your stop however you determine that's okay with you. You can trail using areas of support or resistance, using just above this clump here. So once it breaks lower, you can put your stop up here or here or here. The hardest part for me is staying in long enough. I get really bored sometimes waiting, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but you know, sometimes it's easier to just take 20, 25 ticks or 10 ticks because you get bored waiting for it to finally move. And then you could see if you had the patience to wait from all the way up here, it did manage to find its way down to the first target area here, and then the next target would be here, and then the third target would be down here. So those green lines are going to be your target areas. So let's say that you never got in up here and you were looking for something in this area. No matter what setup you're using or order flow or value areas, whatever your methodology is, with all these lines in this area, we have the high volume areas, we have this line in the sand, we have the red clumping above us, the green clumping below us. This is telling us that this is going to be probably a difficult area to easily get through. Once it breaks this green line down here, you can see we've got space down here to our first target. So you could take a break of this green line right here, or you can wait for it to break and then look for a retest of that area, which would be right around here. Obviously, you would have to decide where you're going to put your stop. Behind the volume nodes, that's very often a good area. You can use volume up here, or if you're using volume at price, I don't have it on this chart, but where it's giving you the volume for the day at the different price levels, you can hide your stop there. So lots of different ways to make use of these lines in conjunction with whatever you're using or all by themselves. Let me just bring up NQ here. Here's NQ. So here's where NQ currently is trading. And you can see, here's the open at 9:30 right here, right around there. And you can see I've got the line in the sand right here in orange, and that happens to be a high volume blue area as well. You can't see it because the orange is right on top of it. And then we have high volume area here as well. You can see that dark blue line. And so you could see if you tried to take it short here, didn't quite trade down to the next grouping, but if you look at areas of congestion from yesterday, you'll probably find that there was an area of support right in this vicinity here as well. But either way, it would have worked. It wouldn't have worked down to the target down here, because here would be our green targets for the day. And it didn't trade down to the next clumping of green, but you can see that once it failed to go lower and got back above our line in the sand here, the orange line, it did do, a slow grind higher and did finally actually hit target number 1 on the top side. So you could take a break of this. This would have required some patience to sit through, admittedly. But you could take a break of the orange line here, or wait for it to try to break and then wait for a retest and buy it down here, expecting it to trade up to these red lines. Or you could take a break of this area here with these 2 red lines and wait for it to hit target number 1. And then so here, you're back to support again. So now is it going to trade back up to the first target and then hit target number 2, target number 3, or is it going to find its way down to support again? So this is something that you could confirm with order flow. You can see it's still holding there. It hasn't broke down. So using order flow, you'd be watching for the sellers to step in. Now granted, it's 1:30 in the afternoon, so volume is probably a little bit on the lighter side. But the lines are definitely crazy accurate. I'm going to put yesterday's on here. So today's Tuesday, so yesterday obviously was Monday. So I want to use Friday's line. So let me just flip this back and get Friday's, and I'll show you what this looked like yesterday. So you can see those areas from yesterday. Okay, so this is yesterday, and these were our lines from yesterday. So going into Monday, these were the lines that we would have been using. And you can see that it hit target number 1, target number 2, and target number 3. And obviously, you can see that it kept on going. So obviously, you don't have your targets up here, but you can use fib projections or, whatever you generally are okay to use according to your trading plan. Because this was new territory, we've never been there before, but you can see how price did manage to hit all of those targets, and that actually happened pretty early in the morning. So I hope that you find that helpful. If you have any questions about the lines, please contact Maria, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care, you guys.